AI made content creation dramatically easier almost overnight. Today, businesses can generate captions, videos, blogs, thumbnails, designs, ads, scripts, and even full marketing campaigns within minutes using the same AI tools everyone else now has access to. And honestly, that sounds like an incredible advantage at first. But underneath all of this, something much bigger is quietly happening online right now. As AI makes content easier to create, the internet is also becoming flooded with more content than audiences can realistically process emotionally. Which means standing out is becoming harder, not easier. Because when everyone suddenly has access to the same tools, the same automation systems, and the same content generation abilities, businesses slowly start looking more similar to each other online. The visuals begin feeling familiar. The messaging begins sounding repetitive. The content starts blending together. And honestly, this is exactly why many audiences now scroll past content much faster than before, even when the content itself still looks polished and professionally made. Because polished content alone is no longer enough to hold attention anymore. And this is where branding suddenly becomes far more important in the AI era than many businesses still realize. Because when content becomes infinite, identity becomes the differentiator. One of the biggest psychological shifts happening online right now is that audiences are consuming far more content, but remembering far less of it. People scroll through hundreds of posts, videos, ads, and AI-generated pieces of content every single day across multiple platforms almost non-stop. And honestly, most of it disappears from memory almost immediately. Not necessarily because the content is bad, but because the internet has become emotionally overcrowded. Audiences are constantly processing new information, new creators, new trends, new opinions, new products, new videos, and endless streams of algorithm-driven content all competing for mental attention at the same time. Which means people naturally start filtering content much faster psychologically. And this is exactly where branding becomes incredibly important. Because branding is not only about logos, colors, or visual design anymore. Branding is increasingly becoming memory, recognition, familiarity, emotional association, and audience perception. Because when people feel overwhelmed with information, they naturally remember what feels emotionally distinct and recognizable to them. They remember personalities. They remember perspective. They remember emotional connection. They remember familiarity. And honestly, this is why many businesses producing endless generic AI content may struggle to build long-term audience trust moving forward. Because visibility alone no longer guarantees memorability. And in the AI era, memorability may become one of the most valuable advantages a brand can build online. And honestly, this is exactly why human identity is quietly becoming one of the most valuable advantages a business can build online right now. Because AI can generate content incredibly fast, but it still struggles to replicate genuine human perspective, emotional nuance, lived experience, cultural understanding, personality, and authentic audience connection at a deep level. And as the internet becomes increasingly saturated with automated content, audiences naturally start gravitating toward creators and brands that feel more human, more recognizable, and more emotionally real. Because people are not only searching for information anymore, they're searching for perspective. They're searching for voices they trust. They're searching for creators they recognize. They're searching for businesses that feel emotionally familiar and psychologically consistent over time. And honestly, this is why branding is no longer just a marketing department concept anymore. It's becoming a trust system. Because when audiences repeatedly see a recognizable tone, recognizable communication style, recognizable identity, and recognizable perspective across multiple platforms, they slowly start building emotional familiarity with that brand. And emotional familiarity creates trust much faster in overloaded digital environments. Because when people feel overwhelmed by infinite information online, they naturally simplify decisions emotionally. They follow recognizable voices. They trust familiar patterns. They remember emotionally distinct brands. And honestly, this is why businesses that rely only on generic AI-generated communication may eventually struggle to build strong long-term audience loyalty. Because content alone may attract temporary attention, but identity is what builds long-term audience connection. And honestly, this is where many businesses may start struggling over the next few years without fully realizing why. Because as AI-generated content becomes more common online, audiences will naturally become much faster at recognizing content that feels generic, repetitive, emotionally empty, or interchangeable. And when brands start sounding too similar to each other, people psychologically stop paying attention to them. Because automation can scale content production very easily, but automation alone does not automatically create emotional differentiation. It doesn't automatically create trust. It doesn't automatically create audience loyalty. And it doesn't automatically create memorability. And honestly, this is exactly why some businesses may continue producing massive amounts of content while still struggling to build meaningful audience connection long term. Because the challenge is no longer only creating content anymore. The challenge is creating communication that actually feels emotionally recognizable to people. Communication that feels human, distinct, consistent, and psychologically memorable. Because in the AI era, emotional differentiation may quietly become one of the most valuable competitive advantages a brand can build online. So no, AI is probably not making branding less important. It's making branding more important than ever before. Because as content becomes easier to generate, audiences will naturally place more value on trust, recognition, familiarity, perspective, and emotional connection. And honestly, the brands that will likely stand out long term are not necessarily the ones producing the most content, but the ones creating the strongest emotional identity around what they communicate. Because in a world filled with infinite content, people still remember what feels human. We break down digital marketing shifts, branding psychology, AI trends, and audience attention changes like this regularly on the channel. And if you want deeper strategy breakdowns around visibility, trust, and branding in the AI era, check out the longer videos already available on the channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you found it helpful and share with ones who you think get help from it. Take care and see you on next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!